Hello, friends. Welcome back to Love Wrestling. Spencer Love here with another interview with another personal favorite of mine and another friend of the show. We were chatting before this. It's been like 2.5 years since we got the first opportunity to chat, and it's so cool to me that so much has happened in that time. We haven't had the opportunity to chat in between. So it is 2.5 years of finding out a little bit more about the Shimmer Taker, a Rancid fan, which is always a good thing in my books. Nicole Matthews joining me today. How are you doing, man? How have things been over sort of the last 8 months, 10 months, whatever amount of months it is since this COVID pandemic hit?
You know the meme where like the dog is sitting, the cartoon dog sitting on the chair and everything's on fire around them? About that, I guess. I don't know. The world's burning. I don't know what to do. Literally and figuratively in some cases. No, it's been fine though. I've been good. But no, it's been 2020's been a year. That's for sure.
Man, right? Like everything getting shut down, whether it be promotions, whether it be wrestling itself, anything along those lines. But at the very least, over the last little bit, you've had the opportunity to be in the ring with the Lions Gate Dojo. Tell me a little bit about it and tell me a little bit about your role as one of the head trainers there.
Yeah, so so there's a group of four of us, me, Artemis Spencer, Billy Swade, and Tony Baroni. And we're running the school. We've been training for a while. In particular, like Artemis has been training for 14 years. Sorry, he's just right here. So just confirming facts here.
Live fact checking.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want anyone, fake news in me or whatever. I've been training for the past 8 years about on and off. And same with about Tony and Swade. So we just decided, like, instead of training for other people, we're going to start a school ourselves and train that way. And it's been awesome. It's been a really good experience. Not everyone's like back to training quite yet, just like with, 2020, the whole
being worried about this whole disease going around.
Yeah, some people are concerned about it, I guess. So we do have COVID protocols at our school, so I do take it seriously. It's been fantastic. We haven't had any new students yet. We're going to do tryouts in approximately 3 weeks, and so that'll be our first new class. In the meantime, we've just been, training just the people who've been coming to training, the wrestlers who are wrestling already. I think we're all kind of feeling like we don't have much left to teach them at this point because they're all so good. But, they still come, so that's good, I guess.
Absolutely. Now, there are a lot of great professional wrestlers that get into training. Some are great at it. Some aren't all that good about it. But like you say, it's yourself, it's Artemis, it's Swade, some really great names in professional wrestling. But on the training end of things, what do you think maybe differentiates you guys from, wrestling school XYZ?
I think the four of us are a pretty good mix because, like, we all have very, like, similar fundamentals. So we all have, like, similar philosophies on training, but we all like doing different things and different aspects of wrestling. So, Tony Baroni, like, is really good about talking about psychology and, like, doing that type of, like, kind of keep taking it there. I'm not much of a talker at training, honestly, which might shock some people because I talk all the time. But I don't really love talking about that. And so that's great that, like, Tony loves talking about it. Like, Swade's, like, great at the fundamentals and, like, kind of focusing, and he kind of has that, like, 80s, 90s style of wrestling a little more so. Like, I love just, like, doing spots at training, like go, kind of chain wrestling, roll-up-y type of spots. I just like doing a lot of action at my training, and, like, Artemis does all the hard stuff. like lucha techniques and, like, catch wrestling techniques, and, like, I'm like I'm a student when I go to his classes still because I'm like, lucha wrestling is not my specialty, but it's really good. He's a great trainer though, so it's good to learn from him. But yeah, we're all rooted in the same fundamental principles, but we all enjoy different parts of those kind of fundamentals, and we all like all of our classes are much different than each other. So
Absolutely.
we offer a really good variety, and I think for the most part we're DC style. We're all very laid back for the most part, and it's
Yeah.
like we try to create like a positive, fun environment. But like also like making sure people are like working hard and stuff. But it's like less like military, go go go, and like more like people want to work hard because they want to work hard. So yeah.
Yeah. Which is the best kind of environment to be in, right? And I think that obviously the results speak for himself, especially with some of the names that have brought you up as influential in their career. You talk to Casey Spinelli, you talk to Chelsea Green, the Vörös Twins, each and every one of them, anytime I've interviewed them, have brought you up as one of sort of the fundamental trainers in their career. How does that make you feel to be influencing so many people that have really made a mark on pro wrestling?
It's pretty crazy. It's cool. Like I'm flattered. Makes me feel a little old sometimes. No, but I'm kidding. It's no, it's really cool. And especially, like Spinelli, like with Spinelli, I was like really young still when she was training. So like I don't think like I know she's very complimentary towards me when I got brought up, but like I don't think I really trained her. I was just kind of there when she was
Yeah.
training and helping out. And same with Chelsea. Like she did. Chelsea's Chelsea. She did her own thing. Like the hustler to the extreme, right? Like she had great training with Storm, obviously. So I'm glad that she thinks that I helped her out in the beginning. That's really nice to hear. Vörös, like, I was there since the beginning for them. And like I'm really proud of them and how good they are. And it's just, it is really flattering. And it's like weird because yesterday I was just training with the Vörös and Travis. And it was like Travis Williams. Sorry, I shouldn't just say one name. I'm Travis Williams, and that was weird because I was like, "What else?" Like, I don't know. They're just so good at this point. Like, I don't know like what else we can do. But they still all come to training all the time and still want to learn. So I don't know. It's it's pretty flattering to hear that though, for sure.
Absolutely. Now, you sort of answered the question for me, admittedly, but working with the Vörös Twins as part of The Shining, how cool has that been for you? And then as a personal sort of fan question on my end, I suppose, how's that differed from your time working with the Riot?
I love working with the Vörös. I think we have a really good dynamic in our group, like because they're like I'm kind of like the serious, thoroughly one of the group, and they're like more like the Vörös, like ton of personality and everything. And like we actually have quite similar wrestling styles. Like when we weren't like working together, but we were all baby faces. Like when we were on shows together, I have to be like, okay, what are you guys doing for your shine? So like we're not doing the same thing because we have like kind of similar mindsets when it comes to that because we have like similar athletic abilities and like similar likes and dislikes of wrestling. So no, it's been great because like we're very much on the same wavelength when we're doing matches and like a couple of really proud six-mans with them that I've loved, and they're always so fun and very dynamic and never boring. So like working with like younger talent like that, like it kind of keeps you wanting to come up with creative ideas too, so you're not getting complacent. And like I think once I've become complacent in wrestling, I don't really want to wrestle anymore. So it's nice to have that for sure. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's pretty cool for me. Like you see them, obviously blowing up on TikTok, but even on their wrestling side of things, them getting noticed. You mentioned Golden Boy Travis Williams earlier. It seems like we're going through a bit of not a revitalization, but it's really the first time, at least in my time, sort of covering wrestling in whatever aspect you want to call this, that you really start to see the Pacific Northwest really breaking out and really starting to get some attention that maybe it hasn't had before. What do you think has changed, and why do you think we're getting more eyes up here than we really ever have?
I think just the internet, has helped. Like the kind of wrestling going towards more of that stream type of environment. But I think like it's like slowly but surely. But there was a group of us when I was younger, where it was like me, Artemis, Kyle O'Reilly, El Phantasmo, the Bollywood boys. Like we all came from the same place at the same time, basically.
Yeah.
And like I trained with Harv from the Bollywood boys, and like and then like Kyle and Riley or LP, sorry, and all those guys. And so we kind of had that, and we didn't like all come up together successful at the same time. Like it was kind of in spurts we did it. but it was like that work ethic and that youth, you know, of like having a chip on your shoulder and wanting to be the best and all that. And like back then we were, I don't want to say it was an unsupportive environment with the older people who were in the locker room, but like it wasn't fully supportive all the time, right? Like it was a lot of like, fuck these young guys, fuck these scrawns. Can I say fuck?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, good.
Oh, of course.
Okay, it comes out.
Don't worry,
so
we're fucking covered.
Yeah, it was kind of an us versus them type of mentality, and not everybody. Like there are some awesome vets for sure. Like I don't want to shit on everyone who's older back then. We had some really fantastic vets. Yeah, but like now I think like it's the same talent, same work ethic with these younger guys like Travis and Vörös and like Icky and you know, and then like Eli Surge and Beef Boy and Liza and I could just go on Jackie, Sharif, Fergie. Like I could go on for fucking ever. With like there's just so much talent right now, so there's more of them, and like I think the environment now like wants that to happen. Like we want younger people to come up because like the old people now are like me, Artie, Tony, and Suede, and we're just like, oh my god, our backs are hurting right now. Please,
you guys do this.
Yeah, we can't handle it anymore, you know. So like we want, and obviously we're their trainers, so we want to see it too. But like we want to see these young guys come up, and they're so talented, so hardworking that it's just like it was like bound to happen, and I'm glad it's happening earlier in their careers rather than later in their careers, like a lot of us had, you know. I think it's just we just have been very lucky with a lot of talent coming up, and like they're just good people with good work ethics, and it's been rad to see. And like that's not even including, like it's funny because I think of them as young guys, but like they've been wrestling 3 or 4 years, and the Vörös have been wrestling for 30, have been wrestling for 7 years at this point. So they're not like that young anymore. Even the ones who are like less than 15 matches in, one of them was in RCW recently, Evan Rivers.
Yeah.
He's had like 10 matches.
Cool. And like you would never tell from just watching him as a casual fan, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So he like people like him, and like there's the Booyah crew, like who are like 2 brothers, and oh god, see, I'm gonna tell your tale though when people watch this. And like Tyrell, and like there's like a few people coming up from even that generation. One guy who's gonna blow people's fucking minds. The timing of the pandemic was really unfortunate for him because he was really starting to put it together in February. But like when wrestling's back to like somewhat normal, like Miles DeVille is gonna like blow everyone's mind. Like he's athletic. He reminds me so much of LP, the way he wrestles. And like just athletic and like, you know, creative, and like I'm like, oh man, he's putting it together, and like he's gonna blow people's minds. So but they all just push each other. It's a really good, it's a good environment that's like healthy, competitive, right? Because they all like want to be as good as each other. So yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely.
I think it's just a lot of things came at once, and I really hope that there's more of a light being shined. Keep going.
Tomato, right? But it's so cool. It's so cool to see, man. As a professional wrestling fan, you know, you pay attention to the BC scene, and now what do you think is going to change when things are sort of back to normal? You see stuff about ECCW. Not sure if that's going to come back. Obviously, on your end, you're there for the last forever. What do you see you doing? What do you see changing in the scene over there? Is there going to be a sort of black hole? What's the inside mind of Nicole Matthews?
You know, I think someone's gonna take over. You know, like someone's gonna keep going. There's always gonna be wrestling because there's lots of people who don't want wrestling to die here, right? And like I'm not personally interested in running shows, but if there's 0 shows going on, I'll run a fucking show. Like just like there's just too many people with that mindset right now where I don't know how long, like I don't know if there'll be like an established 2 show a month kind of promotion. Maybe All-Star will be that, All-Star Wrestling, I'm not sure. Hard to tell, right? Because like I think people are really hesitant to make plans right now because we don't know where everything's going with the whole pandemic. There's been some really awesome shows at like the Wise Hall and Rickshaw, which Cobra Kai, I don't know if that name rings a bell, but
it does.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, he's the main guy for the Rickshaw shows. He's a promoter. and he's like fantastic marketer. So who knows? Maybe there's more of those shows. Like there's definitely a future. There's going to be a future. I just don't know what it is. And like Eddie Osborne running on the island, like he'll continue growing that scene, and he's fantastic. Like he's one of my favorite people to work for. It's just such a fun locker room, and he's just such a chill dude. So and like he has a good eye for talent. So yeah, even if it's I think for a while they'll just be island shows because the island has very little cases right now of COVID. I think there was like 4 new cases today when there was like fucking 250 in Surrey alone.
Oh man, coming from an Albertan, like those are numbers we wish we had.
Are you guys really high right now too?
Oh man, I think we had something like 2,800 over the last 4 days. Right? Yeah. Right.
Oh damn. Okay,
dude,
so
we're all in this together. But I love that you bring it up, obviously not running your own show, but there have been a couple of individuals that have ran their own shows, whether it be on spot duty. The last one that you and I saw each other at was in Edmonton, the Clandestine Society show last year. One of the coolest shows I've ever had to be a part of. Literally the first show I ever had the opportunity to, work. I helped set up lights. But as a worker for it, what was it like for you to be part of something that was not just a great wrestling event, but something that really seemed to, again, catch the eye of sort of outside the traditional Western Canadian market?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was really cool. I didn't, I knew some of the talent, but I didn't know like the whole scene at that point. I hadn't ever seen the girl Zoe. I was gonna say Zoe Lucas, but that's what my friend from
Zoe Sager.
Yeah, I was like just slipping off my mouth for a sec. Like she was great, like super, like that. You know what? That doesn't happen that often where I don't know the person coming into my match, and when it does happen, they usually don't surprise me in a good way, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a ton of sense.
Right, because like you're like, oh, if it's like someone from Canada I haven't heard of, like, what are the chances? Like, I don't know. But then like I knew she was training with like Michael R. or like Blaze. Like I knew, and I knew she like had a good fundamentals and like good, training or whatnot. So I wasn't concerned or anything, but I was really surprised and like pleasantly surprised. It was a really fun match, and there's a couple of really fun matches on that card, like that triple threat. Honestly, that death match at the end, like
man,
death match live, and I didn't like realize that until I was watching it, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever been here for this before. Just like starting with the light tubes immediately. I was just like, okay, here we are, cool.
Man, right? See, I was fully cognizant that I was seeing a death match live for the first time, and let me tell you, there were some like I'm a pretty squeamish dude as is, so having to like mentally stomach up for it was already tough enough, and then half the time it's like, okay.
But when people were friends and family, which was like such a cool concept for people in the crowd. But I feel like maybe some of those friends and families weren't death match experts, perhaps. So there's a lot of very, very squeamish reactions. Or I think like that was a trip to see.
When you're seeing people handing out goggles to the front row before a match starts, it's always a good sign, man. I can't complain. Now. Now I will ask. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying the other match I saw was at Battle Royal, and there's a ton of women talent there that like I hadn't. I've seen. Oh my god, I feel so bad. I don't know her new name.
Kayla J. You wrestled her as Envy.
Okay, so she is Kayla. Okay, I saw her as Kayla. I didn't know if that was her wrestling name now. Okay, so like I said, I've wrestled before. And I wrestled her obviously, but like other than that, wasn't really familiar with all the female talent, and I had no idea there was that many women's wrestlers in Alberta. So that was really cool to see. Like, obviously battle royals are kind of hard to like shine in sometimes. So you don't get the full gamut of what their like abilities are, like where they're at. But yeah, that was really cool to see that there's obviously a uprising female scene in Alberta. I hope it's still like that. I'm not, well,
Yep.
a second, because, but in general, like, that was really cool to see.
Absolutely. Actually, Kayla did have like a pseudo fan question as well. She wanted to ask, like, have you ever chopped anyone else so hard that they've laughed in the ring?
I've chopped a lot of people very hard, so I've, you know, okay. I do take pride in my chops. I think I have a very good chop.
Yeah.
He's the best chopper I've ever been in the ring with, where I almost was like, I think I might quit professional wrestling when I chopped me. It was Cat Power. She this running chop like Finn Balor does, like run into the corner.
Oh.
And like I had to like keep my arms because I'm like, I'm gonna pussy out if I don't force my if I don't like force myself to like cook my arms. Yeah, I'm trying to think who else. I've had girls who did not like me chopping them, and they just I don't know. No, I don't know if anyone's ever laughed though. That's a good question. I'm trying to think.
Well, it is appropriate because, you know, it actually caught me by surprise. You know, I was telling you before this, there aren't a lot of interviews you can listen to of Nicole Matthews to research, but you did one with Alicia Atout a couple of years ago. I think it was like 2017 or something like that. And it absolutely blew my mind because I think everybody's pretty well versed in how good you are at sort of the comedy and the entertainment side of professional wrestling. But it really struck me, the one comment you made where it's like, you know, I think I'm sort of a mid-card comedy wrestler, when she was asking you about winning championships and all of that sort of stuff. Is that still the way you sort of see yourself as a professional wrestler?
So I love, I was talking about this with someone recently. Like, I love technical wrestling, and I love chain wrestling, and I love hard-hitting wrestling. I think I'm good at it. Like, I'm not going to say, like, oh, I suck at that or whatever. But I know my natural like the thing that comes the most natural to me is being an asshole in the ring. It's like being a horrendous person who slips on a banana peel at the end of the day. Like, that is my, like, I never had to work hard at being that. Like, that's my natural ability. That's like the performer in me likes doing that. And I know that's if I'm facing someone who, you know, someone who's a little limited, like, that's the easiest way for me to get a good match out of them as well.
Okay.
Like, from a topical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, so I can do all these like crazy technical stuff and whatever, and I do them in matches, and I work very hard at that. And everyone's just like, you should cut promos all the time. That's all you should do, because they like my promos and I'm funny or whatever. So,
well, man, I'm sitting here killing myself laughing the other day. It was, I think last year or something, you did a promo with, one of the referees that was like, Nicole Matthews is mad at HR and like literally calling people over at the office, because you're so right. You know, not to again just toot your horn for you, but it is something that I think you're very, very good at. But again, you're very, very good at the technical wrestling, professional wrestling side of things, whatever you want to put on it, as evidenced by the fact that you're a 3-time ECCW champion. Now, I think a lot of individuals have seen women with championships by this point. You look at like Tessa Blanchard and that, but you're really one of the first that I could find who was a woman carrying a promotion's heavyweight championship or top championship. What does that mean to you, whether or not you're the first, the 100th, the 1000th? What does it mean to you to be sort of tasked with carrying a promotion's top title?
you know, for me, that whole the whole thing with Bishop, I was just trying to figure out something interesting to do.
Okay.
I pitched it because I like in my head what it was going to be, and what the intention was for me to win it with no one predicting I'd win it, and then lose it a month later, and then go back to doing what I was doing.
Okay.
It was like with the Riot at the time, like doing like the tag team stuff for the most part, or whatnot, right? And so I really didn't have any, like, I had an intention on carrying it, but I had no intention on like being like a main eventer for a long time, which ended up happening. I ended up being in the main eventing quite a bit. I just wanted people to be like, whoa, what the fuck? What just happened here? And I just thought it'd be cool, like kind of like a media pop of
pop
it,
a
right?
crowd, for lack of a better way to put it.
Exactly, right? And it was a challenge for me because at that point I was babyface, which is again, not like I said, it's like not necessarily my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I don't. I really like being a babyface on some levels. But at the time, I'd never been a main event babyface or like
Okay.
that heel with Shimmer at that point, but not a main event babyface. So it was like a really good challenge for me as a
Hmm.
performer on like because it's just a different type of pace and a different type of feel than like the mid card stuff I'm used to. So
Right.
yeah, I just saw it as a challenge. I don't know. I like it's fake fighting at the end of the day, right? So I don't like I'm blah blah blah. Like someone let me have a title and
Yeah.
like and like and not to take like I'm not I just like I like looking at it as a performer for my own like selfish reasons, and it was a really good
Yeah.
challenge for me. It was a ton of fun doing it, and Bishop is an amazing person to do that with because he's like we always talk about like different types of pacing, and like when I say mid card stuff, I like the mid card pace in matches. Like that's my comfort zone. Is
Okay.
yeah, but main event you have to be a little more epic. You have to be a little more dramatic, right? And that's like not my specialty. So like, but Bishop is like amazing at that.
Yeah.
So like just following his lead and like it was a really good opportunity for me to do that and a great person to do it with. So yeah, yeah, no, I like it didn't. It was I was happy that the company was cool with me doing it and they were like they took on that idea and they were awesome about it. Um, so yeah, I guess it was like complimentary in that way. But like by then I had like I was starting to like train people by then. Like I was like kind of like one of the people who've been wrestling the longest in the locker room at that point. So it wasn't, I don't know. Like I've always been very lucky in Vancouver area to like not have to fight for everything as a woman. Like it's just like
Hmm.
I was a respected wrestler at that point, getting an opportunity. So which is
Very
great.
cool.
So I always kind of feel bad though because I know like other women have to fight like tooth and nail for those opportunities, and I was just like, oh, put me in, coach, and they did.
Well, you got to work with what works, right? Now, I've got two more for you. As you sort of alluded to, you got to save sort of the main event or the epic question for last. So I'm going to get to a fan question first. Ironically enough, a friend of mine, a wrestling friend of mine, is also a kinesiologist. Have you ever like sort of utilized that in professional wrestling? Like, do you think it ever gave you an advantage just having such an in-depth knowledge of the body?
No, not really. Like I think more like oh, I shut that down pretty quick.
No, that's why we saved the epic question for last.
I actually switched over to a recreation degree
Cool.
midway through my schooling. So I'm not a kinesiologist, unfortunately. But I've worked with, like, I've been an athlete my whole life.
Hmm.
Why I went to kinesiology in the first place. So I think, like, being an athlete, like swimming all those years and, like, playing volleyball. And I think that's helped me, that, like, taught me a lot about, like, conditioning and working out and everything. So I was, like, pretty well prepared when I started training, which I think that's really important for people to be
Hmm.
prepared for that, and not just like looking great and being jacked, which is awesome too for wrestling, but like having athletic training and like so incorporating that before they start training professionally because it'll just make their wrestling training so much easier.
Yeah. 110%, man. And I completely agree. If you've, as an outsider, I've never trained, but go in as prepared as possible, right? Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance, to get a lot of P's in one sentence. Now, I asked this of Artie the other day. So I asked Artie this the other day, and I think that it's also a question that really applies to you because I think that you get a lot of the same, praise for it. You guys are both independent wrestling stars, for lack of a better way to put it. But I think that as, sort of professional wrestlers in the Pacific Northwest, as we talked about earlier, maybe haven't gotten the recognition that I think a lot of people think that you guys do deserve. But I talk about Spinelli, Chelsea, Randy Myers, all of those guys. They're all quick to point you out as one of the best of the best. Do you see it as a positive or a negative, or how do you sort of see it being one of the sort of hidden gems or one of the most underrated pro wrestlers out there?
I'm very flattered by it. Maybe when I was younger, I would have been not upset at that, but like, no, I don't know. Like, you have to, I always say that your happiness and your like mental health and all that, you have to put before like perceived success. And for me, the success I've had in wrestling, being able to stay in Vancouver, have a full-time job, like with a pension and like all that jazz, all that nice, good grown-up shit. Go to school, meet the love of my life, like have great friends, like it's and like be able to train like as much as I do and like run a training facility. I wouldn't have been able to do that part of it if like I was in WWE or AEW or whatever, right? If I was like a working wrestler in the States, or not that there's many in Canada, but sure, let's say Canada as well. So it's just about balance, right? Because like when I'm done wrestling, like I can probably still train people and I'll still have everything else I just mentioned in my life there, right? But if you dedicate everything to wrestling, which is admirable when people do for sure, then that's all they kind of have at the end of the day, right? And it's like, well, where do you go from there? And for me, like wrestling's always been a passion, and I don't want to become bitter towards wrestling. And I fear that if I had pursued it as a career and put all my eggs in that basket and ended up in a position I wasn't happy in, like I would have been really bitter towards it. And like, I love it too much. Like I would hate to be bitter towards it. So I don't know. I just think like everyone comes into wrestling with different goals. And I think everyone should not listen to what other people's goals are and like figure out what you want to do in wrestling and then go from there. Goals WWE, that's awesome. And there's like so many, or AEW, the big time, like working full time in a company. There are so many people's examples to follow. Like Chelsea Green is a great example of how you kind of hustle towards that goal, and she did great at that. And I just wouldn't have been able to deal with, I don't know, I wouldn't have been happy dealing with that or dealing with that bullshit to get to the success point. And I'm very happy in life right now. So I don't know, like I'm flattered when people say that, but I'm totally okay being the wrestler I am and having the life I do, because I have a very good life and I'm very blessed. So yeah.
I love it. I love that mentality. I love the answer. And sorry, what was that?
What did Artie say to this? I just want to like cross-reference,
I'll have to play it back, but I think he said, damn it, I am the greatest professional wrestler out there and I deserve it all.
I do have any regrets. That's all I need to know.
We'll play that one back, but we'll play it off camera so I don't get any heat with him. But Nicole, it's been an absolute blast, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for always being such a huge supporter of whatever I've done, always willing to answer questions, all of that sort of stuff. It's hugely appreciated, and it is hugely appreciated that you once again took the time for me. Please feel free to share wherever people can keep track of you, whether it's wrestling, whether it's on social media, or anything along those lines, if they want to keep up to date with the latest and greatest from Nicole Matthews.
And Matthews Ninja, that's on Twitter and Instagram. I never check my Facebook, so don't bother. Maybe I have like offers from companies in that Facebook, like the messages,
Can you please answer us? This is an exploding offer.
So yeah, and Matthews Ninja for Instagram and Twitter. Lions Gate Dojo is on Twitter and Instagram, and we have a Facebook page as well. And we have a website, lionsgatedojo.ca. So
absolutely.
Yeah. That won't be me specifically, but that's where I put most of my energy nowadays.
Beautiful. Well, I would 100% suggest checking it out. If you guys need any more evidence, feel free to check the reference list. It is impressive as all hell. Nicole, thank you once again for taking the time. I always appreciate it. It was a blast.
Oh, no worries. Thank you so much.
Anytime at all. Thank you guys for tuning in once again to another interview here on Love Wrestling. Stay tuned for the next one. I guarantee you guys will enjoy it.